the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 KSL Sports Zone. I'm trying to wait for the drop here. Here we go. Took a minute. Otherwise, it just sounds like an old guy just talking to himself.
Sorry. I almost said a political joke.
I love how you apologize.
Do you want me to do it?
No, I don't.
You want me to do it?
No.
Can I do it?
No, because then we'll have Lloyd walk in here, give you the old tisk.
Sure.
I don't want that.
It's funny. See, it's funny. It's a funny joke. It's a joke.
Funny.
See?
It's funny.
Yeah. You'll laugh. It's funny. It's a joke. All right, I'll save it. You guys probably saved me my job.
No, I'm saving you. Yeah, I want to hear it off the air for sure. I want all the smoke off the air. Oh boy, here it comes. We've come this far, dude. November 5th, all we're going to be doing is talking about we're saved by the college football playoff first rankings coming out that day. We don't have to say a freaking thing about politics, man. Yeah, see, it's great. By the way, our program brought to you by. I was about to do another political joke. No. G2G Bars, all natural ingredients and no preservatives. The G2G Bar is perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. Easy enough for you to find them. Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, all in the refrigerated section because no preservatives. All right, let's jump in here. We got the cut, top of the hour. Let's get to some of these college football playoff projections, and let's jump in right here.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, the College Football Playoff Committee, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to think, but the hay's in the barn, at least for the first set of rankings, all right? BYU doesn't have to win this weekend because they have a bye. They're already 8-0. Those first rankings are going to come out next week on the 5th of November. And it'll be the first time that we're going to see that BYU logo pretty high up there on that list. Have never seen it in the new college football playoff era. We haven't seen anywhere near.
Has BYU ever been in the college football playoff rankings?
I don't think that they've. Oh,
that's
yeah,
right,
2020
that's right. Sorry.
I think they had a high of like number 8 or something.
You can understand why I tried to erase the year 2020 from my brain.
Oh, yeah.
Has nothing to do with BYU or college football.
Zach Wilson's like, never forget.
I don't remember much from that year.
No, I know.
That was rough.
So.
There were no sports, by the way. There were no sports.
Yeah, there were. Texas State. The Bobcats coming into Provo. There was a lot of like, man, BYU's on a roll. Who are they playing this week? Oh, another random Texas team? Okay. Give me the Roadrunners. Give me the Bobcats. What other teams can we play that are out there? By the way, think about how wild it is that BYU was like on a whim went out to Coastal Carolina.
It was nuts.
And remember
that's like a bunch of college buddies get drunk and they said road trip,
dude. And we followed the BYU equipment truck. Like, look where they are. They're in Arkansas.
We had nothing else to do.
We had nothing to talk about. And so that's where we were. That's where our heads were. Zach Wilson's headband and the truck, the BYU equipment truck. That's where our heads were. Because it was just such a wild year. Now, the playoff projections, I don't know what the powers that be are going to discuss about BYU. What do they say about the Cougs in that closed-off room in the hotel there in Dallas when they are trying to make those first decisions? What are they going to say about 8-0 BYU? If you're sitting in that room, you're a fly on the wall, what's your guess on what these powers that are deciding the fate of these college teams for the college football playoff rankings, what do they say about BYU?
I think they're going to say that the teams in the Big Ten and the SEC have better strength of schedule, which should make you angry and make you want to throw things.
Don't forget about Notre Dame.
Right.
And also Notre Dame.
The Notre Dame thing. Yeah, the Southern Illinois loss. Everyone's just trying to wish that away.
Northern Illinois. Directional Illinois.
Wish that away. That didn't happen. Wish that away. They beat Texas A&M. Hey. They beat Texas A&M. Don't. I know what happened. But they beat Texas A&M, so...
You saw how good Navy was, didn't you? And they blew them out of the water.
They was in the top 25, and they crushed them.
First of all, you're not allowed to say that they blew
Now Notre Dame has
Navy
2 top 25 wins like
not
BYU.
To say that. Oh, yeah, sure. There you go. At least the teams that BYU beat, they were in the top 25. They're in the top 25 still.
So you see what they'll do is they'll try to... How can they convince themselves that Notre Dame is as good as their ranking?
Oh, they beat Purdue 66-3.
How will they convince themselves that the SEC isn't a little down this year? How will they convince themselves of a lot of things?
See, that's an interesting point because
the rankings.
You're going to get like your LSUs and your Alabamas. They're going to have 3 losses, and they're going to still try to go, yeah, but.
Yeah.
Roll down Tide.
Come on. They will. They'll
LSU
try to still.
Lost to USC.
I know.
Who lost to Maryland. Transitive losses should count. I'm kidding there. But BYU has a really strong resume. And all joking aside, I think the committee will rate BYU accordingly. I think they'll be in a really good position. Because if you take into account BYU's resume, undefeated, the top 25 wins, there's 2 of them. And those top 25 teams they beat, their only losses are to BYU. Kansas State and SMU, both teams contending for conference championships. Both teams still alive for a spot in their conference title game. You add all that up, the strength of schedule has been diminished a bit, unfortunately, because of the way that the unpredictable nature of the Big 12, but that's going to happen. So I think that if you look at BYU's resume, it will hold water and it will hold weight with the committee, and they will be ranked accordingly. Now, if they're ranked below Notre Dame, I'm going to throw a shoe at the TV.
What if they're ranked below Iowa State? How do you take that one? Because Iowa State, who does Iowa State play this weekend? I can't remember who they're playing this weekend. They had a bye last week, though. And
yes.
BYU hopped
BYU
over
jumped them.
BYU jumped them in the rankings by virtue of them not playing. They're playing Texas Tech in Ames. And Texas Tech is a fake. That's a fake good team. They weren't good.
They?
Yeah. You know what's going to happen is Texas Tech is going to have. So it's like all year this year, Texas Tech has been scoring a ton of points, but they also give up a ton of points, right? Abilene Christian, they lost this last week. What was it? 35-34. They all their games that they're playing, they're scoring a ton of points, but they're giving up a ton too. Here's what's going to happen in Ames. They're going to give up a ton of points, and they're not going to score a bunch. So it's going to be a legit blowout. And Iowa State, let's say Iowa State blows out Texas Tech. And BYU's not playing, out of sight, out of mind for 1 week. If Iowa State is in front of BYU, are you okay with that?
No, I'm not.
Why not? Because before the season,
because
Iowa State was ranked
BYU
at the beginning
has a
of the
better
year.
resume. Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? How many top 25 wins does Iowa State have?
Yeah, none, I guess.
Technically one, because Iowa's ranked 21st when they beat them.
There you go.
Where is Iowa ranked right now?
They
aren't.
How many games?
They're 3-2 in the Big Ten.
They are?
They're 5-3 overall.
It's a very Iowa record.
Iowa's losses are to Iowa State, Ohio State, and Michigan State. They lost at Michigan State by 12
the Michigan State
points.
loss does not look good.
No. So Iowa State's strength of schedule should not be as strong as BYU's. Their resume is not as strong because Iowa State does not have 2 wins over current top 25 teams. And the win-loss totals of those teams is 7-1 for BYU for both of those wins. Iowa State's is 5-3, the one win they have. So BYU has a better resume. So I would be disappointed if BYU's not ranked ahead of Iowa State.
One of the first, so CBS Sports put a ranking together, and I think that it's the first time that I've seen BYU get. Jerry Palm put this together, and here let me read off the rankings here for you. Number 1, Oregon. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Penn State. Number 4, Ohio State. By the way, Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, they are 3 out of the top 4 in Jerry Palm's list. I think Ohio State's still fake, by the way. Can we at least give me credit that I said Ohio State is fake?
When Indiana beats them.
I'm telling you, it's not even just that. I think that they're going to – I don't even know if they're going to – let's say they lose to Penn State this week. They'll have 2 losses, and it somehow will still convince people, well, it's a pretty good team. Miami hasn't played a dang good team. They haven't played any good teams this year.
They have
Speaking of no
wins
ranked
over
wins.
teams.
So number 5, Miami. They put BYU at number 6. A lot of folks go, yeah, that's exactly where they should be when you start talking about what that resume looks like.
If you look at Texas's resume, you want me to get to that?
So they have Alabama at 7, by the way.
Okay, so it's Alabama at 7. Two-loss Alabama's at 7.
Two-loss Alabama's at number 7.
They've lost to Vanderbilt.
Not only that, they've barely survived a couple of times this year, including against South Carolina.
Game was
right. So they have Alabama at 7, Texas at 8, Iowa State at 9, and Notre Dame at 10. So that's the top 10 from CBS Sports from Jerry Palm. So they've got BYU. He's got BYU at 6. A 6th-ranked BYU would be a That would be they would technically still be the 4 seed because it would be
the highest
Big 10, right?
Team.
They'd be the highest ranked Big 12 team, but that would still be.
But even if they
flopped
with Iowa State, they would be in a at-large position for the college football playoff.
Which one would you rather see BYU play in the Big 12 championship? By the way, Iowa State or Kansas State? I would be scared to death of Kansas State.
Yeah, I would not want to see Kansas State again.
I know that people go, they beat them by 29, though. You're going to play that team again. It's like, settle down.
If BYU and Kansas State were in a 7-game series, it would need a Game 7.
And it might not lean toward BYU.
Who's at home? Do you want to go play Kansas State on a neutral site? Right.
No.
So,
but Iowa State, you guys don't know anything about each other. You haven't played each other yet.
Iowa State's offense is not dynamic. I think BYU would fare much better. I think it would be a better matchup for BYU. I would not want to watch. I would not want to play Avery Johnson again.
No. We saw that Kansas State O-line pushing around BYU in the first quarter and a half.
Kansas State's a little bit Jekyll and Hyde. They have been this year, but I wouldn't. If I was BYU, I would not want to catch Kansas State on a good day.
Kansas State struggled against Colorado. Had to come back from Colorado. They struggled against Kansas. They had to come back and beat their in-state Sunflower rival.
They've had some weird games, but they've also had some games where they look really good. I can't figure them out. But if I'm BYU, I would not want to see them again.
Tell me the Texas resume that you were. I know you were about to get pissed about.
All right, wins over Colorado State.
Okay.
Michigan, who turned out as mid this year.
Very mid.
UTSA, UL Monroe. This is Texas's schedule this year. Mississippi State, Oklahoma, who is bad.
Terrible, yeah.
They played Georgia, which is, there you go, boom. Well, what happened? They got doubled up. They got waxed at home.
At home, yeah.
Okay, and then they beat Vanderbilt by 3 in Nashville.
The Commodores?
Yes, the Commodores.
Oh, are they still
Number
ranked?
25.
They still are?
No.
I was going to say that. I think
they are not.
They were 25 when they played. Yeah.
You get my point. Like Texas is I'm not disrespecting Texas. Texas is a good football team. But if you're comparing resumes, BYU would deserve to be ahead of Texas in my opinion. BYU is undefeated. BYU has 2 top 25 wins. Texas, while they do have 2 top 25 wins at the time, Oklahoma and Michigan are no longer ranked because they're not good. Their one team that's still in the poll ranked right now is Georgia, and they lost by 15 at home. Would BYU beat Texas head-to-head in Austin right now? I don't know if I'm comfortable saying that. But what I am saying is right now, based on resume, BYU would deserve to be ahead of Texas in the college football playoff rankings.
I'm looking at all these different teams, and I'm like, man.
Wins should matter. An undefeated team should be rewarded for being undefeated.
So Indiana, Jerry Palm puts at 13, which might be, if you talk about.
Speaking of bad schedules.
Well, and but I will say that there are a lot of folks who go, I guess Indiana doesn't get any respect, right? I guess Indiana gets no respect because they're undefeated. All they've done is just won all the games that are in front of them. That's all you can ask them to do, and you're still putting them at 13th, behind Tennessee, behind Texas A&M, behind Notre Dame. At least Iowa State's undefeated. At least BYU's undefeated. But a 2-loss Alabama team in front of a undefeated Indiana team.
I agree with that. That should not be the case.
Not by yeah, not
if
and
you've
certainly not by
watched both
6
teams
different
play this year, and you've watched the close calls that
no.
Alabama's had, in addition to the 2 losses, Indiana has not played a great schedule, but they have absolutely boat raced the teams they're playing.
Okay, here's what the committee itself says that they're looking for: conference championships, head-to-head, strength of schedule, games against common opponents, and results against ranked opponents as well. You take all those things into account. Obviously, there's no conference champion for them to decide on. But the strength of schedule, BYU's got a really, really good one. Games against common opponents don't have a lot of intersection with the other teams that are at the very top of the rankings, right? But results against ranked opponents, BYU is right there.
Right.
BYU's right there.
The SMU and Kansas State results are big, and SMU was on the road.
Yes, and by the way, SMU, they're going to beat Pitt this weekend, and you know what's going to happen? They're going to keep moving right up those ranks, and then there you go.
Don't be surprised if SMU plays Miami in the ACC championship game. Clemson might have a say in that, but it's trending that direction.
No, for sure. For sure. They have found a stride. Speaking of other teams, I know Pitt's undefeated, but what are they on this list? What are they on Jerry Palm's list?
They're at 18.
Yeah, so they again, you talk about teams that
so
BYU's getting an amount of respect.
The Panthers demolished Syracuse for the best win of the season so far, which also indicates that they have not played the strongest of schedules.
Yeah.
Prior to that game, Pitt had not been especially dominant against its schedule either. So all these teams have flaws. Indiana, speaking of bad schedules, the resurgent Hoosiers have the worst of any Power 4 team.
They don't control that.
Nebraska's the only team that Indiana's defeated so far with a record above 500.
But they blew them out like 56-14.
I get that. But
yeah,
who have they played?
Yeah.
You're in the Big Ten. Why are you playing such a crappy schedule?
But it's not like they pick it.
I know that, but still, what does that say?
Yeah.
How good is the Big Ten? The Big Ten, the top of the Big Ten is elite.
What's the rest of Indiana's schedule look like? I know they're going to play this weekend.
They're
playing
at the
Ohio
Shoe,
State.
Remember? That's their game. They got to win at the Shoe.
Oh, no, sorry. Ohio State's not this weekend.
Indiana's got to run the table, by the way. Indiana has to run the table to get to the Big Ten championship game, and they have to beat Ohio State. And they could still not make it.
We talked about that. Yeah. Could you imagine that? 3 undefeated teams in the Big Ten? Gee, that wasn't set up, was it? Come on. All right.
But
See, the more I talk about
Ohio State to be the team.
Well, anyway, when we come back, we'll chat. There's because BYU is getting so much attention in 2 different directions. All right, but one national guy actually makes a formal apology to BYU. You can hear that next. We'll come back. We got more to go. Plus, I do have that. At some point, I do want to play Jake Retzlaff saying that for sure they knew how good they were going to be. I still doubt that. I know you have confidence, but, I mean, come on. Before the season, you knew you'd be undefeated after 8 games? I don't know about that. We'll come back. We got more to go. Plus, we have some hockey club stuff to talk here. The Utah Hockey Club is firing it off tonight against the Calgary Flames, a very good team, by the way. That 4-game losing streak could easily go to 5, but we'll see how they bounce back. They've won insane games this year. This would be just like this club to go in there and beat a very good Calgary Flames team. All right, we'll take the break here. We got more to go. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing. When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This portion of the show brought to you by an incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. It's the Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and now the Doug Smith Kia in Linden. Check it out. Hey, I wanted to go back and listen to Kalani's quote here. Look, what's her Rachel McAdams, when she was in Mean Girls, remember when she's like, stop trying to make this a thing. It's not a thing. I don't remember what she was referencing, but that meme of like, hey, Kalani, stop trying to make feel-good feelings out of the rivalry. It's not going to be a thing, all right? And now I get it. His responsibility is to make sure people understand that you don't need to take stupidity to a crazy level. But tell me what you think about this. Let's go back and listen to what Kalani said about the rivalry and about this game and about the history of it. Here's what he said.
I saw it when Lavelle and Ron McBride were together and Coach Mack were together, and the connection that they have together. And I think this is another chance for us to as we are reunited, to be connected and to enjoy it. Man, this is gonna be a lot of fun. I know there's a lot of bantering going back and forth between fans and everything. I just hope everybody remember what it was like when we didn't have this game on the schedule and how difficult it was. It just didn't feel right, So now that we're back and feeling right, I think it'd be cool to just do it the right way and have a lot of respect for each other and not make it so hostile. There's a lot of things that are more important than just the game itself. It's these friendships and these connections and these relationships. It's a beautiful part of what makes this rivalry so much fun.
Are you buying the hey fans, let's treat this thing with respect? I know that here's the thing.
You know what? I think it's chilled quite a bit. I mean, obviously, I was around.
That's what I was going to say. The game not happening.
I covered some of the most intense rivalry seasons, I would say, in the 2000s, like the first decade of the 2000s.
Yeah.
Culminating with Max Hall's.
Hate everything there about
him. And it got to a point then, and then you had
Suspender Man.
The suspender guy.
I was on the field for Suspender Man.
My goodness. And then you had the incidents with Whittingham's family in the stands down in Provo.
Yeah, down in Provo, yeah.
We reached a point there was like, okay, everybody needs to dial this way down. Like, this is getting out of hand. I think enough time passed, and they didn't play each other, and it was non-conference games. I think enough time has passed. I think that level of vitriol has gone way down.
You think so?
I think the temperature's been turned down for sure. For sure. And I think that we're going to see that next week. It's not going to be that intense anymore.
I love it. He's like, I remember back in the day when Lavelle and Ron McBride, they were respectful about the whole thing, and then he skipped right over Bronco and Kyle.
Because that's where it got turned up.
And
a lot of that was, let's be frank, Kyle and Bronco didn't even want to be in the same room together. So when the head coaches don't like each other, what's going to happen? And Urban Meyer put, I think it made sense what he was doing. He did what was right for his program, but he stoked the fire too.
He made a branding move, and it actually worked.
Kalani and Kyle are close. They both have ties to both schools.
Yeah.
Like, it feels more like Lavelle and Ron McBride now than it did the other way with Kyle and Bronco. So I think the fact that the two head coaches don't hate each other has a huge impact on how the fans behave and react around this rivalry. Plus the fact that they haven't played a lot, the temperature's definitely dialed down. In 2021, it didn't feel like things were nuts. You didn't have fan incidents in the stands. You didn't have anything like that. So I actually think what Kalani just said is, I hope it is that way moving forward. The game needs to be fun. It needs to be intense. If you're a Utah fan, cheer for Utah. If you're a BYU fan, cheer for BYU. Do your thing as a fan, but be respectful, and let's not have assault in the stadium. Like, we don't need to get too carried away. So yeah, I hope that people listen to what Kalani just said, and that's how the rivalry is handled moving forward. Is everybody understands how important the game is, but it's not life or death.
I think you're right. The game got not fun to cover. For a couple of years
so
there.
Tired of it, and the fans coming at us in the media.
Oh yeah,
was like, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
I remember being on the field at Rice-Eccles Stadium just in the pregame, at one point. And it's not like we go there and I don't even think I might have just been wearing like a plain black polo. I don't even think I was wearing like a KSL branded anything. I still had crap said to me.
Right.
I still had crap thrown at me on the field. It's crazy too because the Suspender Man game was kind of funny because do you remember? I mean, like the fans started storming the field. The game wasn't over.
Yeah.
Right. And then that whole like last 10 minutes of how this thing went down.
Insane.
It was wild. And I think we all remember like JD Falslev when he's on the field with his head in his hands, and Utah players and Utah fans coming up to him and like in his face while he's like on the ground, and like it was wild. And Suspender guy coming up to Bronco, and Bronco like having to take a moment to be like, I'm not going to road rage here, right? I mean, it was an insane.
I was standing right there.
I was too. I remember just being like,
what are we doing here?
Dave Noriega was shooting it, and I was standing I was standing at the goalpost, like right next to the goalpost when that thing hit did it hit the post too? That's how it ended, right? It did it hit the post? I can't remember if that was the way it went down.
The first one or the second one?
I can't remember. Like the sequence is so crazy because when everybody came on the field and flags are flying and then fans are getting everything. So I remember because there were a bunch of people who came on the field, and then guess what happens to them? They get escorted out and kicked out of the stadium, and they don't get to even actually see how the game ends. And it was a wild. There was that one. Beck to Harleen was the very first game that I covered, like as an act. That was wild, and I saw some weird stuff happening in that game. For the most part, it has been dialed back quite a bit. You know what? The worst was Vegas. Like the Vegas Bowl was just it was a whole weird week. It was, and the game started out so terribly that it just wasn't even a fun game to watch. Like it was just boring the rest of the way.
Yeah.
You got Hackett. You had Tom Hackett saying some stuff at the hotel at the press conference. You had, but they were playing in the Royal Purple Las Vegas Bowl. And for as much as we were begging for it, it was Broncos' last game. They introduced Kalani at the very end. It was such a weird.
It was.
It was such a weird time. This rivalry has taken a lot of turns. I think it's in a better spot now. Utah fans would beg to differ because they aren't feeling great about this particular season. But I think that going forward, being in the same conference, Kalani nailed it. It's important. It's an important thing. Interestingly enough, an apology was issued to BYU by someone in the national media. This Josh Pate of 24/7 Sports acknowledged that the formula that they use for ranking BYU was flawed, and here's what he had to say in his official apology to the Cougs.
Brigham Young, 37, UCF 24. I woke up this morning and I realized I'm part of the problem, and I can't do this anymore. The model has doubted Brigham Young at every turn this year. We have bet against them. I have kept them outside the top 25 of the JP poll, and I realized that it's time to make a change. And you'll have to excuse if there's a little scratchiness in the voice, if there's a little wobbliness to the words coming out of my mouth. This is not easy. It's not an easy place to be for me. I have doubted BYU all year. I have not called them fraudulent or anything like that. I supremely respect what they've been doing, but I've looked at it and I've thought, is this sustainable? Really, is this style of play, is the way they're winning games, is it really going to sustain? It is sustaining. It is sustaining. The last two wins have been the most impressive to me because they weren't like +3, +4 turnover games. I mean, the Oklahoma State game, they kind of got criticized by some people. I actually thought it was impressive because they didn't have any really big luck factors. They played a game against a rested team and they won. And then they went down to Orlando yesterday and took care of UCF. And this is a really good team. Really good team. I've underrated them. The model's underrated them.
So what did he end up putting them at? I love how he's like, I might get choked up. I have to admit this. Here's the thing, though. I think it's funny. I think BYU fans appreciate like somebody going, look, I doubted you. I doubted you guys. How dare I? But the reality was we had all the same comments where we were like, can you keep winning like this? The ball keeps bouncing in BYU's way. And then at some point we had to go, yeah, you know what? This is working. But there were a lot of times where we were wondering how far this thing was going to go for BYU until, when's the train going to come into the station and reality hit? You know what I mean? And right now, I think the reality actually is I asked you at week 4, at week 5, at week 6. So now do we have enough of a sample size to know what this team is? Right? We asked that a bunch of times. So him apologizing and saying, my model was wrong and I just doubted it. I think that the BYU fan who's being truthful about it was like, yeah, I kind of felt the same way till a couple weeks ago myself.
He's got BYU 19th this week. He moved him up 11 spots.
Yeah. 19th still is not.
He's a month late, but that's okay.
Right, and it's not. And 19th is not some measure of respect either. Like
1 spot ahead of SMU, 1 spot behind USC. Are you kidding me, Josh?
what's
Pate?
USC 5-3?
USC?
What's USC's?
Oh, they're not 5-3.
Right on.
They're not ranked.
No,
they're not good.
So okay, what are the key kind of indicators as to how you get yourself in Josh Pate's rankings?
Your brand.
That's really what it is, right? I mean, if you're
100%.
USC, what's USC's record though? For real? I don't know what.
In all seriousness, I think he uses a lot of Vegas like analytic stuff. Like usually, like it's more.
How would Vegas be leaning toward?
Why is
USC?
Josh Pate popular? It's because gamblers love watching his content because he helps them win money. Because that's what he deals with. He deals with those type of analytics.
So what rank does he have? USC.
Oh, I just had it up here. Sorry.
They're one.
18.
18th.
He has them
They're
one-headed.
currently 13th.
He has Florida at 17.
Okay, USC is currently.
Jeremy, help me out.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. No,
How do you
they're
have Florida at 17?
No. USC is 4-4. They're 2-4. They're 13th in the Big 12 in the Big 10.
Right.
I think this is 100%. His list is just like against the spread, must be that kind of stuff, right?
100%.
So
Which
BYU should be ranked even
BYU
further
has
up.
done really well against
Right.
the spread this year, which is why he's beside himself.
USC is 13th in the Big 10. Are we not like that needs to be talked about more?
Uh-huh.
Actually, you know what? USC should just never be talked about.
Do they think about firing
No.
Lincoln Riley?
No. Not yet. The reality is that even USC
They're fired coaches for less.
No, I know, but they also have never hired somebody with this much money. And the buyout, even for them, is a lot. And I think that they're stuck for the next couple of years here with a guy who has zero personality.
Great quarterback coach, great offensive coordinator, not a good head coach.
He's got the head coaching personality of a freaking slug. $90 million is a buyout.
It'd be a Jimbo Fisher situation.
That is insane.
See, like I said, even USC. And USC, I say even USC. USC they don't do well with, hey, board of directors, can we pay $90 million? They're like, look, sports are important to us, but come on, we can't do that. You're stuck with this guy for a while. You guys made your bed, and there it is.
He has Florida 17th.
Yeah, that
what
must
are you
be
doing, man?
There must be a
on
totally
now.
different model
He's
that
got
we're talking about.
Boise State 22. Boise State's better than Florida. Give me a break.
Not even better than Florida. They're on
Come
a different
on,
planet
man.
compared to Florida. All right.
Jeez.
Here are the teams that are in front of USC in the Big Ten, by the way. Washington, Michigan State, Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, Illinois, Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Indiana. The only teams that are worse than USC in the Big Ten, Maryland, Rutgers, Northwestern, their rival UCLA, and then Purdue.
And Maryland beat them.
And Maryland beat them. And Maryland's
Wow.
only win in conference is against USC.
Wow.
There you go. All right. We'll take a break here. We'll come back. We've got more to go. By the way, I want to remind you, every Tuesday right here on the KSL Sports Zone, it is a Taco Tuesday. Every Tuesday. So if you're listening to the program, if you're listening to our program or any of the other shows across the Tuesday of Taco Tuesday, that is Cafe Rio's Taco Tuesday, you can win $20 to go toward those tacos, courtesy of Cafe Rio. Go to caferio.com to find out more about those deals and toppings. That's what I do. I just go to the website and check out the toppings. That's what you do when you're on a diet, JJ. You look at pictures of food online and then you log off.
Yeah, it's not a good place
That's
to
where
be.
my life is now. All right.
I'm not going to do that.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. We got more to go. Coming up at the 5 o'clock hour, we've got Connor Pay, our weekly conversation with BYU's captain. We'll chat with him, see what the bye week is going to look like, see where his health is at, plus much more. Stay here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.